Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Pints and Perspectives, a podcast hosted by WellHouse Church, where we believe that there's a plethora of theological perspectives and plenty of beer to go around.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. I don't know why that just came to mind, but welcome to Pints and Perspectives, where who knows what the intro is going to be.
Never know. It's a mystery, kind of like the God question.
Wow. You're so godly.
No, I'm just real preacher-like.
Hey, you That's true. Facts, as the kids say. Welcome back. We're still in the same clothes as last episode because we record two at once. So that's good for you because we're a little liquored up from the first episode. I guess beard up. What's the analogy there? Are you liquored up if you've had too many beers?
No,
You're out
it's, by its definition.
Yeah,
it's
liquored, right? Yeah. So just drunk off beer. I don't know. There's got to be a cooler way to say that though. Sut it up, Duff Man.
Feeling yourself? I don't know.
Feeling yourself. No, we're not going to feel ourselves on the podcast. But we are going to drink beer.
What you got?
I got some H-Time beer because that's what we do. Texas' oldest craft brewery, which happens to be about a mile from my workplace, which is dangerous. St. Arnold, holla. St. Arnold. We do a lot of St. Arnold on this podcast because they got a lot of beers these days. This is a brand new beer from St. Arnold. It was just released. And if you follow them on Instagram, they did a whole intro of it. It's called Banger IPA. Banger in the sense not a sausage with potatoes, but like a banger, like a song. Like, man, that song's a banger.
That's a banger.
Like, what is love, baby? Oh, see, full circle. Y'all thought it was random, but I brought it all the way back.
Land that plane.
Yes. So, in fact, there's a little vinyl record.
Oh, there is. It's a banger.
So also why it's a banger is because it's got hops on repeat, which so clever. It's an Imperial Hazy IPA, which means it's got a ton of hops and a ton of alcohol. It is 8.4%.
It really just means it's brewed twice as long. But yes, it is all of those things.
It's all those things.
But that's how they accomplish it. They just brew it. They just boil it twice as long.
It's on repeat. It's a banger. Since it's a banger. See, you get it now, right?
It's great marketing. It's a great beer.
Yeah. Oh, you've had it?
Oh, certainly.
I haven't had it yet. I want to go to the brewery and have it on tap. 12/21. This was just canned a month ago, and I'm looking forward to having it.
It's a banger. It's 8.4. I also have a Houston brew because H-Town.
H-Town.
From Buffalo Bayou. I got to say, I'm a little suspect.
Yeah, major sus right here.
Honestly, I bought this. They probably don't have a can date on it. They don't. I bought this maybe around Christmas time. Maybe around Thanksgiving time.
Oh.
Maybe just shortly after Thanksgiving. And I bought it kind of thinking Adam might end up drinking it.
Hater.
And he
underestimated.
Never wanted to go for it. So now I'm drinking it because I'm tired of it being in the fridge.
Space maker.
And so we both a little sus about it. But it's called the Wake and Bake. It's a Perky Blonde.
Which first, let's just say, a Wake and Bake Perky Blonde, that's going in a good direction.
Hey, that's great marketing.
But what you're about to say next is where things get sus.
With coffee.
Yeah, what? It's a coffee beer?
It's some kind of coffee beer, which it's not well communicated what it is, but I don't really love mixing coffee and beer.
Yeah, I don't either. Unless it's like a stout, unless it's like something really, really dark and thick. But this is the deal, man. It's first, okay, hold on. Notes. Wake and Bake. If you're going to call your beer Wake and Bake, You got to do something. That's a
cannabis reference.
A cannabis reference.
Yeah.
You need to have hemp or hops or like extremely piney hops in it, or like some sort of cannabis thing going on. Are we talking trash? Are we uninformed?
We are uninformed.
Oh.
Well, it's not. No, you can still talk trash about the cannabis thing because it is not.
It needs, like it's yellow. Like I want to see something. I want to see a weed leaf. But I get the wake.
It is green.
See, it's too, no.
It needs to be more definite. If you're going to use that, you need to make it explicit, I think is what we're both
I get the wake part because it's coffee.
But I now understand how they get the coffee flavor in it. Because they age it.
They age what?
They age the beer on Amaya Roasting Co.'s Temperata Espresso and Vanilla.
Okay, so they age it.
They age it on espresso beans.
And vanilla. But interesting choice to go golden.
Wake and bake.
Well, golden blonde ale on coffee beans. And
well,
vanilla.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say is normally when you would have coffee in a beer, it's like in a stout.
That's what I'm saying.
Or like something real dark. Like
something,
a porter. Something that's in the like 700-800 Lovabond range.
Yeah. Look, it says pairing notes, pancakes, bacon, and eggs with peanut butter, honey, and peppermint on top. What?
Maybe that's the deal, is that's only something that a stoned person might be interested in eating.
Oh, maybe. Rich coffee aroma has free. I don't know. I'm just saying I'm a little confused. Although, look, I do love the very subtle NASA space shuttle off in the top left.
Oh, yeah. Well, H-Town.
H-Town, baby.
Yeah, it's 5.4 ABV and 28 IBUs. So there's going to be like very little hop flavor.
It's going to be coffee.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, cheers. I already know this is going to be good. Well, actually, hold on. Are you spitting it out of your mouth because it's so bad?
No.
Oh, no, that's okay. Okay, Banger IPA. I'm not a huge fan of this flavor. There's something I don't like about it.
The hop flavor or the malt flavor?
No, I think it's the malt flavor. Hops is great, very balanced, a little boozy. I don't know. There's something going on here. It's probably the hazy part, to be quite honest.
Are you not a hazy fan?
I'm not a big hazy. There's one that St. Arnold did, a hazy that I really liked. I think it was like a grapefruit hazy IPA, something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to say, yeah, see, it's the hops is great. The body is great. There's just something a little weird flavor. It says melon, tropical fruit and melon. Maybe that's what's throwing me off. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to give it a 7.
Okay. I think it's kind of like a summer beer. It's kind of light on hops for me.
It is light on the hops.
It's what does Ben Chambers call them? A
crushable.
Yeah.
Crushable.
And
8.4.
Yeah.
8.4 should not be crushable.
It's not, but
you will be crushed.
Don't drink responsibly, kids. But yeah.
I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong. I was hoping for, I don't know, something. I don't know. Okay, yeah, let's hear this wake and bake review.
I still need a minute with it.
It's pretty.
It has way too much hype for what it is.
Oh.
Everything is very faint. There's no real prominent flavor other than
it's a blonde ale. This is my point.
Like, yeah, the main flavor is like Pilsner malt.
I don't understand why you pick a blonde as the base.
Yeah, it doesn't tell me if it's an ale or a lager.
It's got good question.
Yeah,
no, it's an ale. It's a blonde ale, right?
No, it's a blonde.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, maybe it's a blonde ale, but I don't know. But it doesn't tell me.
Look,
but
man,
it
says tasting note, rich coffee aroma as fragrant as your morning pot. How fragrant is a morning pot of coffee? Intense, bold.
Oh, yeah.
Fills your entire home. Lies. That beer is not.
No, it's not. I mean, did you smell it?
Yeah. Well, I smelled the can. Let me smell. I'm going to take it. Is it cool? Yeah. We're both vaccinated. Oh, it does have a little weird. Okay. I see the pancake pairing, though.
Yeah.
I see the pancake pairing.
That makes sense. But its main flavor is like
I do not like that.
grain malt.
But
it's like Pilsner malt. It's like it just tastes
with a hint of espresso. I guess I do.
Well, I get more than just espresso.
I get the vanilla.
I definitely get the vanilla and the honey.
I do get the vanilla and the honey. Yeah, because that's where the pancake flavor comes in. I don't know.
I don't really get the peanut butter. That's hard for me to find. But I really only get the peanut butter on the nose.
What an interesting concoction that is.
Yeah, it's very strange. I don't love it. Like a 5.4, 5.3. I don't know.
Sometimes these brewers be doing too much. Hey, but look, Buffalo Bayou, much love. Y'all, H-Town.
For real.
All right.
Okay, let's talk about God. And I'm going to let Adam kind of guide this because I got a lot of different thoughts about this, and I could frame them a lot of different ways. And Adam got some real qualms about God with this conversation. And so I think it'd be helpful just to let Adam kind of ask some questions, guide this part.
Okay, look. Here's the deal. This is a series on the problem of evil. My big hang-up and my main deconstruction catalyst has been, what is the source of evil? And by evil, what I mean is like injustice, suffering. Recently, there was an earthquake on the border of Syria and Turkey, and the death toll is now up to, I think, 12,000 people. And they say they hear voices in the night screaming for help, but no one can get to them. And then they just grow silent. It's also like freezing cold there, and no one has homes. And anyways, but here in America, on the very same night that that's occurring, the leaders of the faith are more concerned with Sam Smith's Grammys performance because he dressed up like Satan, reference to our last episode there. They're more concerned about that than they are, and how that is demonic and evil, than they are the, thousands of children that are being crushed by rubble on the other side of the world. Like literally, like it anyways, okay, I don't need to keep talking about this earthquake. But this is what I'm talking about in terms of evil and suffering and pain. And where does it come from? One answer to that question is existence is like human existence is a biological anomaly that has resulted after a series of just crazy radical biological processes and evolutions of species and minerals and things like that. A scientific process has occurred, and here we are. And so some of what's happening in our life is randomness and is just like it happens. The cause is just the course of existence. But if you have a theology of an all-powerful, all-knowing, all-loving God, which maybe your version of God doesn't have all those attributes, then that God for evil, like, okay, the children that are being crushed under buildings in Aleppo right now, where's God? And why is it, if he knows about it and if he has the power to stop it, why don't he?
Well, first, I might say you've made two real presuppositions about God.
Okay.
Why did you make those? Well, first of all, what were they and why did you make them?
Well, you tell me what they are. What was my first presupposition?
Well, that God knew.
Okay. Omnipotence.
And that God was powerful enough to stop.
Oh, sorry. Omniscience and omnipotence. So he's omniscient. He knows all. Omnipotent. He's all powerful.
So those were your two presuppositions about God. Why did you make those?
Because that's what godness is.
Is it?
Well, look, yeah, okay. I'm open to the fact that he's a God that doesn't know everything and is not all powerful. What's more powerful than God?
Well, more so I'm asking you is what source told you that?
The Christian tradition that I was
there you go.
handed.
Why? When did it all start?
Because it's a massive power cult.
Who gave us the omnis?
The men in charge of keeping the people in line with the political system and the religious religious torture that they put them through to keep them in line. I don't know. Look, who?
One saint in roughly the 4th century.
Okay.
Named Anselm.
I got his books.
One patron saint.
Yeah. Okay.
He's the one that gave us the omnis.
Okay.
It was omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence.
All present.
Yeah. So now, we might say, in any conversation about the problem of evil, everybody comes with presuppositions about God. We need to go ahead and name those.
Okay.
Before I get to your question,
Sure.
we need to talk about these presuppositions.
Okay, let's do it.
Which are all based on the omnis. Okay. So, omnipotence.
Okay.
All powerful. This is really the one that is a problem for the problem of evil. Because you named it. If God is powerful enough to stop it,
right?
Why don't they?
Why not? Yeah.
And so that one people really mess with to
Yeah.
solve the problem of evil. And I will say, I think even scripturally,
Yeah.
it's not that hard to be an open theist.
Okay.
It's also not that hard to give God omniscience.
Okay.
It's not that hard to give someone omnipotence, but even scripturally, there are certainly places where you could point to that say God acknowledges giving up power.
Sure. Yes. I mean, Jesus does.
Jesus certainly does. And Jesus is, in the Christian story and tradition, Jesus is God.
Yeah.
And so by that very definition, God sacrifices and gives up power. As far as omniscience goes, that one's a little suspect.
I don't know. I think I can make a good theological case that God has the ability to limit his own knowledge.
Oh, certainly. If God can limit their power, God can certainly limit their knowledge.
Sure.
The question is, does God have it to begin with?
Yeah, that's good.
Because,
What kind of God? What is the alternative?
That God doesn't have that kind of power because God doesn't control the adversary that we've said, as you acknowledged, coined the ground of death. So there,
Okay.
Theologically, there are ways to maneuver around that God may not know. Omnipresence is the one. It's the reason you left it out.
It doesn't.
It's the only presupposition about God you didn't come to the table with.
Yeah,
because you think it doesn't matter.
Yes, you're right.
Here's the problem.
You're right.
It absolutely matters.
Ooh. Okay.
Because it's the one that brings back grace and presence to God in the suffering. But you left it out, which is one of the reasons that you have major qualms with all of this.
Interesting, because you'd say that God might not know that children are being crushed in Aleppo, and he might not be powerful enough to help them, but he is most certainly present with them.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, look at you flipping the script.
God is, if nothing else, God is certainly present.
So what kind of God doesn't have knowledge and power? A weak one?
Well, that's great. Are they weak?
Is there... It's okay.
Well, no. What the source of this is in the Christian tradition. Think about the Hebrew Bible. Think about the Genesis story. Think about the Canaanite conquest. Think about the God of the Bible. Is God weak?
Yes.
Oh. Damn. Oh. Explain, please.
I mean, okay, here's my perspective. I mean, okay. So, like, I think about this. I'm trying to analogize this. When I think about my children and my role in their life as their provider, their progenitor, their everything right now, because they're littles. Well, one of them is. The other one's too big. Bigger than her mama now. But if I am trying to teach them something and instruct them on something and tell them something, and they choose disobedience.
Well, I also think it's important, if I can interrupt you, I also think it's important to note that there is another Omni that we've not mentioned.
Wait, a fourth?
Yeah, which is equally important for the problem of evil, and it's probably only used in the context of the problem of evil, which is Omnibenevolent.
What? Okay, say more. I've never heard this term before.
What? Literally, a simple Google search, the problem of evil, and Omnibenevolent is right there. It is more of a philosophical concept of God, but it's certainly a theological one.
So he's all giving?
No.
All
loving.
How can an all-loving God... Okay, but look, so they have to...
or all good, maybe, is another way to interpret that.
But I think Christian tradition would say that God is love. Well, the Bible says that.
Well, God, yeah.
And that God is all-loving.
Mm-hmm.
But the question is, how do you would have to suspend to be all-loving and to be all-present and all-loving? Wouldn't you have to necessarily, maybe that's where my point is, necessarily suspend omnipotence and omniscience?
So you said suspend.
Or they don't exist?
Well, but... Okay, so you clearly think they exist because that's the natural presupposition you came to the table.
Okay, it's a presupposition I come to the table with because it is a part of the definition of godness for
which is totally fine, as it probably should be.
Because I don't have a less than concept of a God. We're just talking about if a person, God's a person.
Oh, a thing, being, existence.
If a person being,
deity,
a person being does not know all things, okay, that could be me.
Yeah.
Does not have all power, is limited in their power.
Yep.
Okay, that could be me.
Yep.
Human. All present. Okay, yeah. So that's one that no all present humans.
None.
So God is just all present and all loving. All loving is too abstract. What does that even mean?
Well, are you only love? Is the only thing you...
Not.
Oh, okay. Well, then...
How would I know that God is? What does that mean for God to be all loving? How do you express that in a way that impacts humans?
Or you could also just interpret that as all good.
All good. Okay.
Yeah,
so
you could wrap those up kind of as one encompassing.
Is God
idea.
Created or all?
We determined that. Well, I argued that both ground of being and ground of death are pre-existent.
Yeah. Do you believe in an omniscient God?
No.
Do you believe in an omnipotent God?
Yes. in some way. So what I personally believe is I don't believe that God is omniscient. I don't believe God knows anything knows everything.
Look,
and
I was a good open theist at one point in my life too.
Well, I used to.
I think there's a solid theological case for that.
Well, so, and this may make me heretical now, certainly.
Yes.
To be fair, open theism may be heretical.
I don't think so.
Once again,
if Roger Olson,
it's true.
He ain't no heretic.
That's true.
Some would say that he is, though. Anyway,
some would say he is.
Go ahead.
But I mean, some's gonna say anybody's a heretic.
Exactly, because it's all guesswork.
Well, it's all perspective. But open theism would say that somewhat similar to panentheism, that God has voluntarily chosen to lay down power and knowledge. I'm not sure that I'm there anymore. And the way I used to communicate this was that the Old Testament is God learning how to be God.
You have said this before, yeah. That's heresy.
Well, it's not heresy if you go off Nicaea. Nobody's talking about God's knowledge at Nicaea.
Okay, fair.
So what I'm trying to communicate in that is the major differences you see between God at various parts of the Old Testament and the way they conduct themselves and the way it's recorded in the scriptures between the Old Testament periods, as well as drastically between the Old Testament and the New Testament. So I used to say that God was learning how to be God. I'm not sure I'm there anymore because I do think that God has an adversary that they do not know what their next move is. And so I think that when it comes to us, and we'll talk more about...
I was going to say, you're getting into the human.
We'll talk more about this, but I think there's an element of open theism that I love, which is basically just to say that I think God knows every possible option of every decision that every human could make. But God does not know what decisions they are going to choose at any given moment. And that allows total free will and total tempting and yet total response by God. And so to your omnipotence question, I personally believe that God has chosen to lay down their power to prioritize presence in suffering alongside humans as evidenced in Jesus.
So you do believe that that is a power that has been
laid down.
That
God has chosen.
Had it originally.
Chose to lay it down in an attempt to learn how to be God, learn the adversary, strategize the chess game, at which point I do believe that Revelation gives me confidence that God at some point will pick up ultimate power again when they've figured all of this out to the best of their ability to win the game. God will pick up all of their power and make a move.
Who created the chess game? Where did it come from?
I think it just happened.
Happened?
I don't know. There may be more.
Somebody had to, like this, what's the, like the unmoved mover, like the cause of first movement or whatever. There's like a philosophical thing for this. Anyways, like if it's a chess game, like I hear that perspective, okay? That there is this cosmic game that's being played with all of creation, which seems a little effed up to begin with, because that implies that a game is being played with our lives.
Stop. Have you ever been a kid, messed around in ant beds?
Of course.
Have you ever had the power over life and turned it into a game?
So God is just a one big 6-year-old child?
Nope. I'm saying that we are each a distorted version of divinity. And we are made in the image and likeness of divinity. And so it makes sense that when you have that opportunity, you would try to mirror God in that way, but you do it only for destruction. Your only intent there is to harm, whereas God's only intent is to heal, restore, goodness, righteousness.
But my point is, before God chooses to be about only those things, something is the source of the bad stuff that requires God to be fully present, and always loving, and always healing, and always restoring.
Well, we'll never get that question until we can we'll never get that answer.
Don't you dare!
Listen, we'll never get that question about the next layer of all of this until we can really get answers to the first layer we're trying to penetrate.
Cop out.
It's not really a cop-out. It's just the truth of the matter. Think about investigating anything.
Let me ask you
this. You can't get to the next level until you penetrate the first.
Let me ask you this. If God is all loving and then chose to be less than all powerful, that, and while knowing that there's an adversary coming to harm his creation, do evil things, that feels unloving.
Well, but I might also remind you that God with ultimate power in the Old Testament did some things that also felt unloving.
Excellent. What God told his people to go genocide some other people? Who's responsible there?
An all-powerful God.
But you said he wasn't all-powerful.
At some point, they chose to give up power, in my view. I think all of it happened in Jesus.
Oh, so Jesus is,
I think all power, in the way that God gave it up, I think God gave it all up. The amount that they gave up, I think they gave it up at Jesus. And the precursor of that was God looked back at thousands of years and said, this is not right.
So
this is not solving the problem.
So that God, that good, loving, benevolent, now choosing to be not powerful, not all-knowing God, decides to murder his child.
No, they decide to murder themselves.
Come on.
Sacrifice themselves. That's the Trinitarian concept, bro. That's the whole point.
They decide to
sacrifice themselves.
Why was sacrifice necessary? They created the chess game.
Well,
they're the source of the chess game.
They did not
require sacrifice.
Well, no, it requires conquering death, of which sometimes the only way to do that is for you, the ultimate character.
Is God the author of life and death?
No, God's the author of life.
And death just is?
Death.
Who's the author of death?
The ground of death.
What is that?
God's adversary. The origin of evil.
Okay. The anti-God.
Yeah. The adversary. The one opposite God.
How powerful is this ground of death?
Well, not powerful enough that the first thing the Christian story told us about it is that God manipulated it and called it the deep dark.
And
God controlled it.
Is this adversary all-knowing?
No.
Is this adversary all-powerful?
No, clearly not. It's trying to offer Jesus a power that Jesus already has.
Who created this all?
No, I think they're both pre-existing. I don't have a problem with them both. I also, once again, you're never going to get answers to the next layer until you get to the first.
But okay. Let's go back, you Marcion. So the God
not a Marcion.
The God of the Old Testament,
It's the same God.
Okay. So God in the Old Testament,
yeah,
was just really mean or really dumb?
I think that God was really emotional and really powerful. And that's why in the Exodus story, if there was ever a moment where God and Moses were both mad at the Israelites at the same time, they would have killed them both. But at least twice that I can remember in that story, Moses talks God out of killing all of them. Because I think that God was real emotional and real powerful. And that God realized that was dangerous. And so out of the two that they could give up, they chose to give up power, not emotion.
So what does God do now? Be present. And what? So like prayer doesn't matter.
No, prayer certainly matters because I told you God laid down some power. God didn't lay down all power.
Oh, but he laid down the powers that can't get the kids rescued in Aleppo right now? He doesn't have that power.
He certainly doesn't.
He doesn't have the power to actually heal people. Physically, that is. He doesn't have the power to like...
Oh, why not? The New Testament certainly thought that they did.
Okay, he doesn't have the power...
People in second and third world countries even today report that God does.
Okay, there's a homeless encampment, and when I say encampment, it's like 150 tents right across the street from my office. And why doesn't God house those people? Why do they live literally on a freeway?
Well, I think part of it is humans have free will. And I think part of that means at the most base level, the homeless person in the tent. But I also think that means at the most macro level, the people of power that are making decisions that force those people to be in those tents.
Most definitely.
And God has no idea what any human is going to choose. And the only thing they have is goodness and presence. And so they do that at every level. And trying to use their power the best ways that they see fit.
How is that more beneficial, more good for humanity than God being all-powerful and all-knowing and stopping the bad stuff? That seems like it would be a better outcome for humanity. That seems more redemptive and loving than choosing to be powerless or lacking in power and knowledge and having these terrible things happen constantly. That doesn't seem to benefit humanity very much.
And that's why the end of the story gives you the ending you want. But there's a time.
But I don't buy it.
Why?
Because there is no evidence of it.
Oh, it's because you don't believe Jesus.
Right.
Yeah, that's why.
Or I don't believe...
you don't believe that he resurrected.
I don't think that there is an afterlife. Because I don't think
you don't think Jesus was resurrected.
Yeah, I don't think Jesus was resurrected. That's true.
Name it. Yeah.
In my head, though, those two things aren't 100% correlated.
Oh, absolutely they are. It's the evidence you're looking for of the afterlife because he ascends. He never dies again. It is literally the proof that all of the eyewitnesses of the New Testament are proclaiming and dying for that you're saying you don't believe. That is literally your hang up about all of it.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Because you use the word proof rather flippantly.
I don't.
I mean...
It just really matters to me that hundreds of thousands of people lost their lives for that truth. Very close to that truth.
Yeah, I get that.
There are written testimonies of him appearing to more than 500 people at one time post-resurrection.
Yeah.
That really matters to me.
Yeah. No, I get it. I think there's plausible explanations for all those things.
Oh, sure. We could explain anything away.
Man, you got so into preacher mode.
Well, no, it's not. Well, I didn't mean to be in preacher mode. It's just.
No, I get it. You are convinced. I am still. I am still having a hard time reconstructing a theological framework for a God who is eternally existent, but without all power, all knowledge, without the omnis. And how that, I just have no grid for that, which is why I'm struggling with it. I think it's a compelling idea.
Let's think about military strategy.
Okay.
Because if you accept my premises, which it seems like you're on board with, except the one I'm trying to convince you of. So
I accept nothing.
Go ahead and accept my premises. If you accept all those premises, then we're in the middle of a war, of which we are servants of goodness.
But
stop. Let me finish my thought.
You
can rebut.
Okay.
As we are these servants of goodness, we are in the midst of a war. And so think about combat strategies. That is what the apocalypse is. Okay. That is what Revelation is. It's the revealing of the end, of which I really believe that John the Elder thought was going to be, within the lifetime of the next generation.
Any minute. Yeah.
Was imminent, maybe is the most pertinent way to say that. And that's why they wrote letters to 7 very real churches.
Yep.
Or he wrote letters to 7 very real churches, which contained this vision of the end. And it's very apocalyptic. It's very clearly written to the ancient world. And it's very clearly written to territory, a specific territory in the ancient world. I think all of that clearly communicates that it's a war.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the apocalyptic texts in Daniel clearly communicate that it's a war. And so sometimes in war strategy, it's good to take a step back in your offense to play defense and gather intel.
Oof. Okay. Yeah, I hear you.
To have an entire First Testament.
It was important to let the balloon go all the way across so that we could learn what it was doing, make sure it got out of harm's way, and then we shoot the balloon down, right? And so we got to study its pattern. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Sometimes it is totally a good thing to take a step back and play defense and gather intel.
Defense wins championships, baby.
And when you have an entire First Testament of God with ultimate power,
offense,
and using that power to do what we would call very heinous and immoral things.
Bad God.
To a point where they take 400 years of silence in the written canonical text. And then come out with Jesus. And the end of the story is, I'm going to figure this out. And I'm going to win. But I need a minute here.
So we live in a Marvel movie.
Possibly. That may be a really good metaphor. I don't know Marvel well enough, but that may be a really good metaphor.
I mean, it's a compelling this new idea that I hear you. I think you got a system there, but they're kind of like aliens. They're kind of like these otherworldly intellectual beings that have omnipresence. Well, I guess, is the adversary omnipresent?
Well, is death everywhere?
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
I mean, I'm trying to communicate to you that they're pretty equal. But the hope, the truth is that God will prevail, and was shown in the beginning that God manipulated water, that God showed power over the serpent, that God showed power over death in Jesus, and that God will win in the end. But we're currently in a waiting game. God is trying to figure some stuff out before they pick up power again in return to end it all.
So do we participate?
Oh, certainly. Certainly, because you connected suffering. Yes, our goodness participates in
the good that
suffering.
we do.
Certainly.
The good that we do. So this is an argument for morality.
Well, Yeah. Morality, yes. Moralism, no.
Okay. What I mean is, like our role to play is to go dig kids out of rubble in Aleppo.
I think that's part of it. I also think it's don't rape anybody.
Yeah. Well,
don't murder anybody.
That's what I'm saying. Ethics.
It's to do the things you should do and to not do the things you shouldn't do.
Yeah. So we do live in Star Wars. And
I don't know. I've never seen
and we're
that.
Jedis. And we're Jedis.
I don't know. I've never seen that.
Unacceptable. The dark side and the light side.
Yeah. I do believe that.
And they're agents of both.
Yep.
But the Jedi are on the light side because they're more tapped into the Force.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
We live in Star Wars. It's a hero's journey, y'all.
I told you it's one of 7 basics. It's one of 7 basic plot lines.
Okay.
Okay. It doesn't have to be as difficult as we make it. It's just that everybody comes with these certain presuppositions about God, which
definitely
nobody really. Presuppositions only work if you want them to or not.
Sure. Yeah.
And so if they don't work anymore, the answer is not necessarily just be like, oh, the presuppositions don't work. You just need new ones.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Cosmic chess game.
I think that's one way to look at it.
Yeah,
now,
I mean, it's an
there
analogy.
are going to be people listening to this, they're going, absolutely not. You both are effing dumb.
Hey, cheers.
But for people that...
A hate watch. Yeah, y'all can hate watch. Comment below. Cuss us out.
Pop that dislike. I'll take it.
Pop it.
If you're in Houston, I'll buy you a beer and we can have a conversation.
Yes. Unless you try to evangelize me specifically, and then I'm not messing with you.
Oh, you could try to evangelize me. I might correct you, but you could try. Yeah, I just think that the God part of this is the problem we're all trying to deal with.
Yeah, it is, because how you define God determines how you view God's participation in real, tangible, day-to-day experiences.
Yeah.
Which are fraught with bad stuff.
Yeah.
So it's critically important.
Critically important. And so I think we're going to have a couple of more, at least one more conversation about God in this. I do want to talk more, at least one more episode about the open theism element.
Sure.
Of God and what that looks like, maybe in totality or more fleshed out from the God side. And then I do want to have one conversation just of like us having a conversation of imagining what it might be like if God happened upon matter, which we call the deep dark, and out of them said, I'm a being of light, I'm a being of life, I'm a being of existence, and so we're going to do something out of this, and caused creation to happen, and then ground of being sat on the outside of it and watched the story unfold and had to interact.
Sounds like a good screenplay for a Marvel film.
That's right. Hey, shout me. I'll write it for you.
Jon Favreau, holla.
Thanks for listening to the Pints and Perspectives podcast hosted by WellHouse Church. Be sure to give us a rating and a review if you enjoyed the episode. It's free and it helps us immensely. Also, feel free to check out our other podcasts.